Hi, welcome to Manas Shield YouTube channel. Before we start, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Let's start the video. If you haven't watched the previous video, I'll link it in the description box, or you can click here. Tensura Volume 19. Chapter 4. The Gathering of the Giants. Final Battle. Michael was acutely aware of his own naivety. To be honest, at first he had thought that the Demon Lord Rimuru was insignificant. That changed the moment Rimuru defeated Valgrand. From then on, he regarded him as an enemy, and took extra precautions. Even so, he still thought that he would not be much of an enemy in a head-on battle. But now, Michael had no choice but to admit that he had been naive. After all, the Demon Lord Rimuru had entered the Suspended World, a place that only a limited number of people were allowed to enter, without permission. What a troublesome guy. He's always getting in my way. At this point, there was no point in stopping time. Michael lifted the time stop and decided to crush Rimuru with an overwhelming difference in power. The time stop had been obtained by analyzing Velzard's patient's King Gabriel, but it was useless to someone who could manipulate information particles at will. Since maintaining it would only consume unnecessary energy, he decided that it would be more advantageous to fight in a straightforward manner. In fact, Michael has gained great power by taking in the factors of the two true dragons. His body had been strengthened to the point of invincibility, and he was overflowing with energy. And that wasn't all. Michael, as befitting of the head of the angelic ultimate skills, was able to fully display all the powers he had analyzed and taken in. From Velzard's patient's King Gabriel, the concept of fixation had given him an unrivaled and powerful defensive ability. It was not as powerful as Castle Guard, but it was more useful in that it could be used to attack at the same time. Moreover, the concept of fixation had given him the ultimate time stop ability. As long as he had this, it was as if he could never be defeated by any entity. Another example was Valgrand's Charity King Rigel, which boasted the ultimate offensive capabilities. The information from the Purity King Metatron that he had retrieved from Leon was also very useful in terms of energy efficiency. Even the powers he had lent out to his subordinates were at Michael's disposal. He could manipulate them at will, as he had done with the concealment power from Mario's Punishment King Sandalphon. For Michael, who had reached such a state of existence, there was no doubt that he could win any battle, as long as he was present. He had been defeated by the hero Chloe, but that was only a parallel existence at less than 20% of his power. The current Michael was perfect, and his lost energy had been replenished. In fact, there was a disparity of more than 10 times between Michael and the Demon Lord Rimuru in front of him. He was assured that there was nothing to lose. In the first place, a serious Michael would have easily defeated a bear's army. Considering that, defeating Rimuru personally should have been a piece of cake. However, it was not that simple. This guy is a monster, Michael admitted from the bottom of his heart. Every attack he launched at Rimuru was unsuccessful. Even the Scorched Dragon Cardinal Acceleration, which he had unleashed with deadly intent, was instantly drowned out. Michael could not believe his eyes. The moment he lost the overwhelming advantage of stopping time, he no longer had an effective means of attack against Rimuru. By the time he realized this, the battle had already been decided. All these attacks are so easy to understand. This is enough, I can handle. Just as he thought he was muttering something, Rimuru's threat level rose several notches. The color of his eyes glowed gold. Rimuru was no longer a reachable opponent for Michael. If he couldn't attack, then could he defend? Michael's Castle Guard was no longer effective, but he still had the patient's King Gabriel from Velzard. Its essence was fixation, and boasted absolute protection. With that in mind, he activated the snow crystal to coagulate the moisture in the air. Pouring all his strength into it, he created an indestructible object that wrapped around Michael. However, this can be eaten too. Seriously. For some reason, Rimuru himself was surprised as he made a hole in the snow crystal. It was an unbelievable reality. What did you just do? What did you say just now? Michael couldn't help shouting. Rimuru replied matter-of-factly. I ate it. You ate it. Well, yeah. That's my ability. Well, I didn't think I could eat the barrier either, but I guess it's possible if you try. It couldn't be. Michael was astonished. What the hell are you talking about? He felt like shouting. Michael acted on the basis of rational judgment. That was why he could not simply nod his head to such an irrational story. But the results were all that mattered. Michael was not so incompetent as to ignore the reality shown before him. So, what should he do? All means of attack had been neutralized, and his defenses were gone. You should run away, a calm voice whispered. At the same time, something else suggested that he should search for information here. Either way, Michael had parallel existence, so even if he was defeated here, he could be revived. In fact, since he had transferred his power to Feldway, it was possible to attack him, even if it was reckless. However, Demon Lord Rimuru was too incomprehensible. And Michael's escape had already been blocked. I had confined this area to the imaginary space. With this, it is now impossible for Michael to escape from this place. He felt as if he heard an unidentified voice. He thought it was absurd, but apparently it was true. If so, there was only one answer, so there was no need to worry. If he couldn't defeat Demon Lord Rimuru here, then there would be no way out either way. In that case, I'll respond. I'll show you how serious I really am. Michael declared, attempting to summon not the sword in his hand, but the most powerful sword ever created. Come, Diva. But there was no response. Rudra, the true owner of the sword, was already using it, so there was no way it would respond to Michael's call, who was only a fake master. If he had been able to use parallel existence as Valgrind did, he would have been able to understand the world as seen through Feldway's eyes. However, Michael, although he transferred the function as an ability, was not able to synchronize completely. The reason for this failure was that he thought it would be no problem to exchange information later. As soon as that happened, Michael just put divine energy into his sword. Rimuru's reaction was but he was ready to respond with his own sword. What about Diva? Never mind that. That's fine then, but... Rimuru looked a little unconvinced, but his expression tightened as Michael's divine presence increased. Then the two men went into the final battle. Michael, having taken over Rudra's body, had already mastered his swordplay. It was impossible for the current Michael to recreate Rudra's most powerful technique, the Nova Break, but he was fully capable of using the most powerful sword techniques that manipulated one's spirit. He was also adept at disintegration, and chosen to use the transcendental holy sword technique, Overblade, for this match. Rimuru, on the other hand, showed his hidden move without any hesitation. Void Collapse, World of 1,000 Blooming Changes. As if in courtesy to those who would soon perish, he generously revealed it to the public for the first time. It was a terrifying technique. The trajectory of the sword changed in thousands upon thousands of directions, slicing through the enemy, with elusive movements. Its power was impeccable, and it scattered the target like a flower. It was out of the realm of human reach, and seemed impossible for even a demon lord. The toughness of a true dragon, combined with the flexibility of slime, must have enabled him to achieve such an incomprehensible sword technique. It's over, I've lost. Michael realized that his body was disintegrating. And before he had time to face that inescapable reality. So then, do you have any last words? Rimuru asked him. Accepting defeat, Michael thought to himself. How could he have lost when he had outperformed them in every way? He could not find the answer. That's why he asked a different question, rather than sighing in defeat. Who are you? To which Rimuru replied with a puzzled look. Me? I'm just a slime. What was he talking about? Michael suddenly felt ridiculous. He didn't care about his crumbling body, but for some reason, perhaps, is this what it feels like to be happy? He suddenly understood. It was a feeling that he hadn't felt since his lord had abandoned him, and his ego had grown. He had tried to imitate it, but later dismissed it as something that he could not understand. And now, in this last moment, he suddenly understood. It was something beyond his control, Michael thought in self-mockery. What slime? You're an anomalous existence that is too incomprehensible to be understood, and yet it suits you. You have defeated me, Amonis. The decay rate increased. As particles of light dispersed, more and more of his body was being chipped away. You know, I'm actually not alone. Take your time, you'll have to ask my partner about that. With that said, Rimuru broke off the conversation. His hand came to rest on Michael. Devour all things. Void God, Aztev. For the first time in this world, the ultimate and most powerful skill bared its fangs. The irresistible power of peace, the soul devourer, swallowed up all of Michael. In truth, he understood. That he, his creator, had abandoned him. He didn't want to admit it, so he had struggled with it until now. But that was over now. It was warm with an all-encompassing completeness. A familiar comfort. I see. Michael thought as he faded away. Perhaps everything had just been a misunderstanding. Everything was here, and he felt himself becoming a part of it. Michael was no longer alone. This was inevitable, it must have all been part of a harmonious plan. My wish has been granted. Feldway, my only regret is leaving you behind. It suddenly occurred to him, and Michael's consciousness vanished into thin air. I confronted Michael and immediately realized, oh, this is no big deal. Because Michael's attacks were too textbook. It was good to be faithful to the basics, but he didn't seem to have any variety. In other words, he only threw strikes, so no matter how powerful they were easy to predict and easy to deal with. That's why Seal-san and I switched players as soon as the battle started, and I had a good time watching the high-level exchanges. During the battle, Michael had used a great defensive move, which made me nervous. No matter how much I could handle, the difference in strength was obvious. I thought that, if he could create a defense barrier that I couldn't break, I would be helpless. However, Seal-san was even more amazing. No, seriously. It saw through the weaknesses of Michael's moves with scary calmness. As a result, even the defensive move, called Snow Crystal, was eliminated by Void God, as that, in a matter of seconds. It was an overwhelmingly one-sided battle. Michael was so pitiful that I decided to score a complete victory. In the end, I showed him the Void Collapse, World of 1,000 Blooming Changes, which may have been a test in battle for Seal-san, but for me, it was a final gift to Michael. I defeated Michael, but at the end, I was asked a strange question. Who are you? Even if asked, I'm honestly not sure. I'm me. It's nothing more than that. However, that doesn't mean there isn't anything that comes to mind. Michael probably noticed Seal-san's existence. That's why I wanted to have them communicate from Monas to fellow Monas. Michael seemed to be proud of being a Monas, so it would be surprising for him to learn of Seal-san's existence, but it was the last time, so there was no problem. With that in mind, I activated my first use of the Soul Devour ability on Michael. I was surprised when I did it. I had thought that it would be impossible to devour all of Michael, since his existence value was probably 10 times greater than mine, but Michael disappeared in an instant. And there was also the feeling of satiety. A feeling that I had never felt before, no matter what I ate, filled my heart. With this, the data of the 7 angelic system ultimate skills are complete. Velzard's dragon factor has also been acquired, so I will start the analyze and assess. Well, not only was I satisfied, but Seal-san seemed to be happy as well. After the battle with Michael, I checked on Diablo and the others. I was glad everyone was okay. I have no excuse for my mistake this time, and I can't tell you. No, that was unavoidable. What can you do, if they can stop time? No, I should have thought of more countermeasures. I regret that I naively thought that it would be of no use for those who could move within the time stop, and that it would only be less fuel efficient and less useful. I swear not to make such a mistake the next time. Diablo was unusually depressed, and I had a hard time calming him down. I thought time stop was a fail, but since there were very few people who could handle it, I didn't think we'd need to worry about it that much. That's what I thought, but Diablo and Sally thought differently. Diablo, tell me how to deal with it too. I managed to get a sense for it, but it's difficult to go beyond that. If you know how to do it, please tell me. Of course, Sally don't know. And Ultima as well. They were enthusiastically discussing countermeasures. Well, yeah. If you're not careful, you can make the same mistakes over and over and again. If there is answer for this, it is better to prepare in advance. I think the Diablo and the others' actions are not in vain, because they can think of a solution to any problem, if given enough time. With that in mind, I decided not to interfere. It seemed that Leon had not regained consciousness yet, so I ordered Diablo to take him to Tempest. I didn't think he'd be a target anymore, but it was just in case. I also ordered Ultima to go to Xianzade. Now that Daggerel was on the march, I decided that Libelius would be the next battleground. Kufufufufu, I will be back soon, so it is goodbye for now. Well then, Rimuru-sama, I'm off. And the two immediately sprang into action. Varin and Zonda followed Ultima, leaving Sally and I alone. However, there was still work to be done. Here, we would investigate the Holy Void Damagania. Daggerel didn't seem like someone who would betray us, so something must have happened here. I wanted to know what that was, and I also thought I should find out what the current situation was in this city. I'm counting on you, Sally. Understood. It was safe to leave it to Sally. After giving the instructions, I returned to the capital, which had been my last concern. But apparently, there was no need to panic. You're too late. It's over. Velgrin proudly told me what had happened. Surprisingly, Masayuki had defeated Feldway, the enemy's leader. That's amazing. Wait a minute. Before you praise me, please listen to what I have to say first. Well, yeah. I understood. I'm sure Masayuki was not happy about this. But he still won, so he should be proud of it. I was relieved too. Really, I was just glad everyone was okay. I was relieved about it, but it seems that it was too early to relax. Soon after that, reports of the war situation began to arrive from all over the world. It was more horrible than I had imagined. My mind instantly switched to the upcoming battles. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy it.